think, and also I think by being a neophyte,
Hold on, what's that word mean?
I'm new to making music
Okay.
relatively to other
Right.
people, you know, and I'm a noob, and I don't spend enough time reading the manuals or disciplining myself in the ways that would benefit me long term. I just get so into like making sounds for no reason. I mean, sometimes I make it in the intros of my podcast, but it's just more of like for me, it sounds so cheesy, but it's like, God, I'm sorry, it's like a religious experience. When it's like a form of, and again, religious experiences, I don't mean like I'm on top of a mountain and God is talking to me. Or that my music is like reflecting I'm having a religious experience from the outside. It might just sound like I'm like in a trance from the sound of like a plane crashing into a black hole or something. Right. You know what I mean? But for me, the experience of having something so beautiful and powerful and chaotic that is generating a sound that seems to be, I don't know, like it has its own life or something like that, feels like a form of communion and almost a form of channeling, in the sense that sometimes sounds start coming out of there that I didn't mean to make. Right. That I couldn't have made if I tried in a million years.
Well, here's the thing about sound design is a lot of people are like that with it. Like, so pretty much what I would classify what you do on the modular synthesis, from what I've heard, just like at the end of the Freddie podcast and sometimes in the intro of your podcast, is it's sound design. And generally, that's kind of my process for sound design too. It's like you almost don't want to know what you're doing. All as you want and need for it to be is engaging, right? Yeah. Like you just really need it to be fun for you, and you really need it to be just interesting to the point where you can like really go in on it and get lost in it, because that's what's going to really yield the best results, is you wanting to do it. It's kind of like a martial art or something, right? It's like you really need to want to fucking do it for 10 years straight to be a master at it, or 20 years or 30, however long it takes to get good at martial arts.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for sound design, I almost prefer when I don't know what's happening anyway. Like I kind of like to go in there and be like, all right, I'm going to forget everything that I learned at university about mixing and mastering and the traditional way that you should process a signal. And instead I'm going to put 40 compressors on it. And I'm going to put 40 delays, and I'm going to put like 50 fucking flanges, and just like, you know, like I'll do this in the digital realm just to be like, what will happen?
To me, these are mystical instruments that are relatively brand new to the planet. And I mean, think how long has stringed instruments been here?
Yeah, quite a while.
As long as there's been hair,
right,
and sticks.
Yep.
You know, and how long have like obviously percussive instruments?
Right, even longer than stringed instruments, I think.
Rocks. You ever messed around with fucking hair? Just a rock, just rocks, and you got a hands, and you got
These are the strangest things. It's a terrible addiction, but they're
it's one of the ultimate
incredible synths that produce. It's just voltage.
Things,
you're just running voltage.
They're brand
through,
new, man.
Circuit boards through like sound chips, and it produces this crazy, beautiful, deep sound. And so I'm telling you, man, this theory of somehow your energetic field affecting electronics, it feels like that when you're dialing in sound into a modular synth, that in some way or another there's more than just the knobs that are affecting the sound. It has something to do with your thought process. And it sounds so crazy. But I'll tell you, I was talking to this guy who does psychedelic art for concerts, and he was telling me that he thinks that, you know, he's an animist, and he thinks that electronics are alive, just like anything else, that consciousness flows through the universe. I thought we could start off with something I've been wondering, which is, you know, what I have read of yours, there's this beautiful optimism in it, particularly in the book Abundance. There's this feeling that's controversial, because you're saying the world is actually better now than it has been maybe ever, in the sense that the standard of living all over the planet is so much better than it was, and it seems to be getting better. And yet, with all these fires and climate change and politics and North Korea, I was wondering, do you still feel as optimistic?
Peter Diamandis, my co-author, is brilliant. I think Peter may be a little more optimistic than I am, but we both fundamentally believe something very similar, which is we do not deny in the slightest the massive challenges the planet faces, right? I work on the front lines of animal rescue. I run an event that's really targeted biodiversity. Like the 6th grade extinction is real. Species die-off rates are 1,000 times greater than normal.
Yeah.
And if we get that fixed, according to really smart people at Stanford, we've got about 3 generations before we start shutting down ecosystem services, which essentially run the planet for good, right? So and to say nothing of global warming, to say nothing of income inequality, to say nothing of, ad nauseum, right?
Right.
What we do believe is that all of these problems are solvable. That technology is a resource liberating mechanism, and that we have, at a really, really amazing level, the most potent technology the world has ever seen at our disposal. We believe that all these problems are solvable, right? Is it going to require the largest cooperative effort in history? And beyond that, not just us cooperating together, but like us at our very best cooperating together? Yeah, it probably is. It's abundance or bust. It's an either or, right? We're either going to move in this direction or, it's goodbye. Whatever metric you really want to measure, violence going down, poverty decreasing, take your pick. By any metric you look at, the world is so much better now than it has ever been. And the power, the actual power at an individual's fingertips, pretty much anywhere in the world right now, has never been greater. So those things are all very true. It's not to say that the problems aren't there, but we believe that the problems are solvable. There, but we believe that the problems are solvable.
This is like episode 26 of the MAPS podcast, and only about half of them, a little bit less than half of them, have been originals. We're usually sourcing the archives of great previous lectures and psychedelic science kind of stuff and reframing it. But I was excited to do this one with you, and being a cultural observer and a psychedelicist in your own right, and I think you are a great living example of the promise of psychedelics.
Thank
for
you.
Sure. But I am very curious as to your take. There's no question, no matter what side you're on, we're living in a complicated world.
That's correct.
Crazy things are happening. Right?
Yes.
Don't have to dissect that, but being in the psychedelic frame of mind and taking note of what psychedelics has done for your consciousness and for your own personal evolution, for your own place in the world, how does it affect your relationship with the outside world? How do you see our place in the world right now through the psychedelic lens?
Okay, so, it's a process. So, I guess maybe it goes without saying, but whatever I'm saying right now is just sort of part of this process that happens with psychedelics. Psychedelics have produced in me a series of epiphanies and realizations that have been transformative and destructive destructive in the sense that they've annihilated the self that I thought I was, and
all at the same time.
yes, yes.
Right.
And I guess destruction is
Shiva.
I guess destruction and transformation are actually pretty much the same thing. But what I'm saying is,
so this is kind of where I'm at right now. Where we think about the outside world or the reality that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it as a frame of experience that is extended for a pretty long time, 60 years, 80 years. We're in this frame for about 80 years where all around us
is this stuff. And this stuff is appearing and then disintegrating, and we get very attached to this stuff. But I think what we're in right now fades out, and then we continue to experience the observing self. It's non-different than what Ramdas talks about. It's just through psychedelics, I feel like I have a deeper grasp on the simultaneous impermanence of this reality and what appears to be a non-ending sentience.
So is that sort of like when you die, consciousness does not cease to exist?
No way.
Right.
I don't think so at all.
I don't think so either.
And I think this is a frame that we're in, and it's like, my friend put it like, it's like a viewfinder, you know, when you're clicking the side, and that's kind of what this is. It's like a frame in the viewfinder that we're looking through, and it's a wonderful frame, but it's definitely a frame that is going to click out, and that's really shocking to people and astounding because they get confused. Again, I know none of this is new data. It's like just subjectively it's become more clear to me through psychedelics.
Well, the importance of this data and why I asked the question has to do with integration, because as I see it, I mean, it's not exactly this simple, but to oversimplify it, one of the problems with the 1960s and so many people turning on so quickly without any historical context, you know, there was no data. Do you think that kind of there could be a mass proliferation of psychedelics that would help us? Do you think it would help if more people consciously turned on?
Yeah.